Powers of the internet. I can be sitting in Australia right now, but I can also be looking at the Taj Mahal in India. Hi there, my name is Kate and welcome to my first video. Today I'm going to be talking about digital innovation and cultural heritage sites and whether that digital innovation has made cultural heritage sites redundant. I am quite interested in museums. I find museums a place of relaxation and a place to go to just either be by yourself or to learn about a new place and to really get the history and culture of it. What I find really interesting is how museums have now integrated digital innovation and social media and the internet into their museums for the more digital age, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. So these little clips you saw just then were from my little excursion down to my local museum and art gallery, as I really wanted to understand what sort of digital things they had added to their museums and to the art gallery. I found that at the museum there was a lot more digital innovations such as touchscreens and videos and headsets and computers. But I did find that the art gallery didn't really have much innovation. They really stuck to the way of using tour guides, and I did see one tour happening while I was there. I found that really interesting because for me personally, having a tour guide when I'm overseas is really beneficial. You get that extra flair from the country and you also get to understand pieces in more depth than you would just walking around by yourself. However, I also do quite enjoy just walking around a museum by myself, and I might not understand a piece as much, but I do really like that feeling of having a little bit of immersement into the museum and the culture. I then took some time to look into the research area of how museums have been adapting to this new digital age. And there is quite a lot of literature in this area. A few articles that I found interesting really give insight into this world, and they're going to be very useful when talking about what comes later on in this video. The first one is Marty in 2008, and he spoke about how the increase of online visitors to museum websites for interaction has dramatically increased over the last few years, and that the museum curators just don't quite understand what people are really wanting from online experiences in museums. He also found that people want 24-hour access to museums online, and that they don't care where they are locating or how they can locate that, but they do want that access in order to find out things that they probably wouldn't be able to find out if they did have to travel there and they didn't have the ability to. Another literature was by Richards in 2010, and this has to be my favourite article that I read. This is because he spoke about how mobile phones have been integrated into the world of museums. He stated that they're more personalised rather than a kiosk because they're also location aware. So for example, if you were walking around a museum, you could have your headphones in and you could be listening to a recording, and as you move through the museum it would tell you about things that you're standing in front of. The next article I looked into was by Simone in 2009. Now this article is really interesting because she actually took insight into people from museums and what they thought about a generic tour book or a mobile held device. She found that people who did use an audio device or a tour book were more likely to spend more time at the museum, to know a little bit more information, and were more willing to use a mobile hand device or an audiobook general tour advice in the future. Finally, she also took some insight into using location awareness such as within Richards. Now, bringing an opposite side to Rich's article, this was really interesting because she found that a lot of people thought that the experience of using location aware was magical and that they learnt so much more. But she also found that people did think that the location awareness sometimes didn't work, and that it felt like the device was drunk driving them and that they couldn't work out what was going on. Now, Liew really brought together the whole of the other articles that I looked at because he also looked at the way that generic audio tours had been incorporated into museums. He found that museums were spending a lot more money than they wanted to on generic audio tours, and that's why they changed their ways and started looking at mobile applications. One of the most interesting things that came out of that article was called the Street Museum, which was brought by the City of London. Now this one was my absolute favourite, and I really wish I had the opportunity to have a go at it. The basic thing was people could download an application on their phone, and as they were walking around places in London, there was over 200 places where it would transform into a photo of what it looked like back in the day. So you could see the now and you could see the then. This was really interactive and allowed people to get an insight into the way that London looked years ago. The next part of my video does include looking at museums from inside from Google Images. And I did find this really interesting and I was really excited at first. But then I thought about security. And if I can see inside of a museum at any time, what sort of security threat does this impose for the museums? Now this was also raised by an article by Burney in 2018, and he stated that the potential risk from criminal users has increased because of the fact that they can look at anywhere, at any time, including museums, without having to, go and suss the place out in the first place. I believe this is an area which needs further research and development. Final note, I want to mention the new recent addition to the way that museums have been allowing people to be in the digital atmosphere. So in January, Google Arts and Culture launched a new app which allow people to figure out from one photo what sort of painting they look like in the world. And this created mass hysteria. I don't really want to mention much on this, but I have left an article below that you can read if you're interested in that. Thanks for watching my video, and until next time, I'll see you later.